Good morning. Well, Wednesday and Thursday were our days to watch for thunderstorms during the last 7-day period. And there were a few thunderstorms that eventuated. The timings were all a little bit off to me, so I don't believe anything really got going in a substantial way. But yeah, nonetheless, there were reports of lightning, thunder and some hail. On Wednesday, well, this is the map I presented to you last Saturday morning. And yeah, there were a few thunderstorms about, but there were a few differences. Okay, so on Wednesday just been, there was some cold air that passed over the South Island, and it sort of moved from west to east. There was a southerly change that moved through Canterbury first thing in the morning. Now, southerly changes moving through in the morning I don't like as much because there hasn't been enough time for some energy to be introduced into the land from the sun. You know, they always talk about the calm before the storm. Well, it's appropriate because it helps to get a bit of energy in the land before that southerly change moves through. And then you get violent results, so to speak. When southerlies move through first thing in the morning, there hasn't been enough time for some energy to get into the atmosphere. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so Wednesday, there was a southerly change that moved through in the morning, and then the winds reverted around to the east-northeast in the afternoon. There were some clouds that did billow up, and yes, there were a few reports of lightning and a few isolated areas of heavy rain about the place, but nothing really to sort of get one going, especially in my regard. Considering I've been watching thunderstorms for a damn long time, I'm a little bit more discerning in terms of, my thunderstorms that I'll go after. It needs to be really good. That's in terms of photographic possibilities and observational possibilities as well. But anyway, there were a few nice clouds that billowed up during the course of the afternoon. The cold upper air support moved offshore to the east and the clouds started to disintegrate. Then, later on Wednesday, overnight into Thursday, I was talking to Mike Stewart and I reckoned there was a chance of thunderstorms as this cold air down here sort of started to move over the South Island. That chance I predicted to be around Waimo. In the end, there was a thunderstorm that passed over Dunedin later on Wednesday overnight into Thursday, so it was very close. Not quite my predictions as such, but yeah, very close in the end. Would have been nice to be down there, but it's a bit of a journey from Christchurch for the chance there could be some lightning in future. Who knows, maybe we'll do that sort of thing. But let's move to Thursday, where the cold air really started to move over the country. I talked about how Canterbury, the southerly was moving through in the morning. That was last Saturday morning's forecast, and that did happen. The southerlies moved through first thing. Not my favourite scenario because, once again, the energy isn't really getting into the atmosphere. But nonetheless, this cold air sort of ended up being a little bit more eastwards, and it was planted right over Canterbury during the afternoon. So despite that southerly pushing through, because of the very cold upper air, clouds definitely still billowed up. There were reports of lightning, thunder and some hail. A nice convergence line formed sort of inland Canterbury and pushed into inland mid-Canterbury and pushed into North Canterbury. Yeah, and there was some lightning, thunder and hail, but I didn't really actually go chase it because to me it wasn't good enough to go after. Around the Tasman area there were reports of thunderstorms also here in the west for the North Island, and then a bit later in the afternoon on Thursday, maybe into the evening, I believe there were a few reports of some thunder around the Hawke's Bay Gisborne area as this southerly change shunted on northwards. Okay, that's that. Now let's look ahead to Thursday coming up, because there's going to be a bit of a still period, a bit of a calm period, thunderstorm-wise, between now and then. Not much happening. Bit of, sort of like high-pressure anticyclonic conditions coming up. But anyway, this is next Thursday, and our maps have changed colour for some reason. Hopefully it still looks all right. A south to southwesterly change is going to push over the South Island. Some heavy rain there for the west coast as that front moves northwards. A slim risk of some thunder there, perhaps in the west, as that moves through. And then there's a southerly change here, a south to southwesterly change in the east. That could trigger something. Coastal Otago up into Canterbury, mainly inland. The risk is not looking that great. The cold air is lagging a bit behind, and it doesn't really introduce the instability as much. The cold air does sort of push up this eastern side later on Thursday, overnight into Friday. It presents a risk then perhaps for the eastern South Island again. But once again, I don't think the risks are that great. The timing's all wrong. It's overnight. Anyway, as we move to Friday, things ramp up a bit. The change gets to the North Island, the cold air sort of catches up, and there's better availability of sort of like a surface humidity moisture to help spur things along. So up in North Island, as this front here moves in, there could be something for you thunderstorm-wise. And here in the east, it looks a bit more like sort of like just rainy weather, not too much instability there. And then as we move around, there's an anticyclone right there that pushes onto the country during Saturday. So Saturday morning, I'd be watching for frosts potentially for inland areas of both islands. That will be of concern to growers. Anyway, that is all it from us today. We'll catch you next Saturday morning.
Severe thunderstorm large hail has been forecast. Storm moving northwards on the Canberra Plains towards Ashburn.